Thank you. Thanks, Tammy. And thanks, everyone, for joining this session today, in which we're going to look at how we can optimize reporting and analytics applications through automation with Metoscope. My name's Alex Stevenson, and I'm the principal at Metonomy. So let's take a look at our agenda. And you can see the items here that we'll cover. I'll provide a brief introduction, just by way of background and context. We'll explore the problem area and how we can tackle that through automation. I'd like to say a few words about the positioning of our solution. And then I'll walk through example use cases, tying them back to specific challenges regarding optimization. We'll summarize and then make time for any questions that you may have. Just to reiterate what Tammy was mentioning at the beginning there, if you do have questions, please use the Zoom Q&A functionality to log them, and we'll do our best to cover them towards the end of the session. So just moving on to the introduction. And a little bit about me. I've been involved in business intelligence and analytics for some time, having worked through and for software vendors and in consultancy. I delivered business intelligence solutions for clients in a broad range of industry sectors. For example, telco, financial services, retail, CPG, and most recently, aviation. And I say throughout this time, I've been a champion of automation. By that, I mean I've sought to improve efficiency, if possible, boost productivity, and also to achieve results that may not be viable or possible via manual processes. Now, over the years, I think it's fair to say that there have been significant advances in BI technology. I certainly recognize that. And you've probably seen examples of this just in the past couple of days at this conference. There have been some great presentations on what's now possible. But I've also become aware of some areas that are lagging behind, and I've experienced, I guess, recurring themes and some challenges in what tend to be large, mature organizations. And please let me know what you think about this. But for example, often in those kinds of organizations, there will be multiple disparate BI and analytics tools. And there'll be good reason for this. It may be as a result of departmental procurement. They might have had to have been early adopters, or it might be M&A activity. Whatever the reason, the result is often a complex patchwork quilt of BI and analytics applications. And that creates difficulties for the people who've got to maintain them. They're difficult to maintain, they're costly, and for the BI consumers, it's also difficult to navigate, to use, and understand. Another recurring theme that I've noticed in implementations is that most applications will have varying degrees of technical debt. Now, this is a kind of cyclical situation where applications that were once pristine on initial implementation, let's fast forward 3 or 5 years, and we discover extensive inconsistencies across the report suites. There may well be a great deal of duplication, that report and dashboard sprawl that we've all probably seen. And the supporting documentation that was available on first implementation, well, that's fallen into a state of disrepair. And what I've seen is that degenerative cycle where applications are once pristine and then over time they decay and eventually fall into disuse. And unfortunately, that cycle repeats. It's a great waste of money, and it's a poor use of what was once a great asset. But also say that large organizations have embarked on or are embarking on digital transformation. And a subset of those programs will be, of course, to either optimize or rationalize existing BI applications or migrate to new, often in the cloud. And these aren't trivial undertakings. They're complex, they can be very time-consuming and costly. Another trend I've noticed, and it's a recurring theme in recent years, is that there's a great desire to empower business users and provide them with the capability for self-service analytics. And I'm a great proponent of this, but I would temper, I guess, the implementation of self-service just to make sure that there is sufficient governance and control so that the people in the business who are producing these fantastic visualizations with the various tools that they have at their disposal now, that they don't inadvertently misreport, that they don't misrelate data sets or make some, I guess, inadvertent error in an expression or formula. Because often these self-service outputs are visually compelling, and I certainly invariably find them quite credible. So it's with this backdrop of these challenges, and I guess some cauterizing experiences, that I decided a couple of years back to apply my enthusiasm for automation and develop some software to address some of these challenges. I've been lucky enough to meet up with a group of like-minded people, and together as the Metonomy team, we've developed a software solution that's currently being trialed by a small number of organizations prior to general release. So our focus is very much around helping companies optimize their BI applications and to accelerate any analytics transformation. The last bullet there is actually an aide-memoire. It's a reminder for me to ask you all a question at the end of this session. So let's hope I remember that. So that's the introduction. Let's jump into the problem area. And scanning from left to right, we know that organizations with multiple BI tools are likely to want to address the following challenges. In terms of optimization, invariably they'll seek to improve the consistency and quality of metrics. I think we've all probably been in meetings where different people around the table, they've got different numbers for the same metrics, and that's not a good place to be. It's not great for any organization to experience that. It doesn't support sort of the data-centric trend that most organizations are trying to jump on. They're also probably trying to reduce the report sprawl, all that duplication. And again, it goes back to the technical debt point that I touched on earlier, where there are hundreds of dashboards or thousands of dashboards and reports. That's not an unusual scenario. And that makes it difficult for the teams to support, but also very difficult for users to navigate their way through that and to make sense of the content that's made available to them. And relating to that, invariably, the contextual side of things, the supporting documentation for any dashboard or report. What is the business purpose? Who is the business owner? Is there any personally identifiable information relating to GDPR within a dashboard or report? And a range of other contextual information. If that's not present, then it's very difficult for people to make informed decisions with that information. So providing better context is key for organizations to make better use of their BI and analytics. Now, moving beyond optimization, if organizations choose to change, invariably they'll be looking to migrate, often these days not on-premise, but to the cloud. And again, as I touched on earlier, that can be a time-consuming and costly exercise. These organizations will want to do this as efficiently as possible and to make sure that when they do actually migrate to their new target BI capability, it's the best it possibly can be. And thirdly, in terms of challenges, it's all about risk reduction. I touched on self-service analytics earlier. I'm a great fan, but with the appropriate levels of control. I think there's a great risk these days for inadvertent misreporting, and that can have consequences in terms of financial and reputational damage. So those are the challenges that we're looking to help organizations address, and we can do it through automation. And on the right here of this slide, I've just summarized the various key elements of our solution. The first thing about automation is that we can acquire metadata from a range of BI tools. And this is using adapters and the most appropriate method of acquiring that metadata, be it through web services, REST and SOAP, or potentially XML parsing, or it might be a specific SDK that we need to use. We will acquire the metadata and ingest it into the Metoscope repository. And that's where we can augment and enrich that metadata with usage stats and annotations, providing a span of functionality ranging from impact and lineage analysis through being able to compare dashboards and reports, describe and present permissioning across those multiple tools, and also present back the annotations to our BI consumers in their native BI applications. This is all with the purpose of enabling the teams of developers, analysts, and managers to go about their roles more efficiently and more cost effectively, and to provide a better experience for the consumers of BI and analytics. So that's the problem area and how we're addressing it through automation. What I'd like to do now is just say a few words about the positioning of our solution. And our focus is principally in the orange area of this slide. It's very much in the BI and analytics application layer, as opposed to the lower half of the slide, which we think is already fairly mature. There are some great products that play out in this space in the lower half of this slide. But our view is that often those products focus primarily on physical data assets. The orange area is very much about being able to provide transparency and control across multiple BI applications and multiple BI tools. And that will be from the point of connecting to data sources through semantic layers to reports, analyses, and dashboards. So it's quite distinct from the more mature blue area, which is all about governing physical data assets. I just wanted to make that sort of positioning clear. So moving on to use cases. And I thought I would illustrate some use cases and tie them back to those optimization challenges. So improving consistency in metrics, reducing the degree of duplication, and providing better context. I've arranged them in 3 tracks, and I have illustrated with callouts and screenshots. Let me just move on to the first use case, which is improving consistency. And for this, really, I've broken it down into searching metadata, exploring results, and then being able to inspect dashboards, reports, or logical models from a broad range of different BI tools. So let's jump into this. So improving consistency in metrics. Why search your BI applications? And I should just say a few words before I take you through each of the steps in the callouts here. This is the homepage of Metoscope, and what we're looking at on the left really is an inventory of the metadata that's been captured. So we've captured metadata in this example from 13 different BI application instances, spanning 11 different products and 14 different product modules. And a product module, for example, will be, if we're talking about business objects, a product module could be web intelligence documents or a universe. It could be the information catalog. If it's OBI, it could well be the logical model, be the repository. It could be analyses and dashboards. So each BI product can be broken down into different product modules, and we will use the most appropriate method of capturing that metadata and ingesting it into a repository. So in this case, we've got 13 instances, 11 products, 14 product modules. We've captured the metadata from over 1,000 different dashboards, reports, and logical models. And we've got over 500,000 different metadata nodes held within our example database. And just looking at this screenshot, you see the table in the top center of the homepage. This is listing the various application instances and products. And you can see that we've got quite a variety here, from OBI EE through Microsoft's Power BI suite to business objects, Tableau, and beyond. So it's an eclectic mix. But really what I want to do here is just to illustrate how we can search across all of that metadata just with a few mouse clicks. So on the homepage, step one, you can select the instances that you want to search. And here we've selected, I think, multiple instances, 12 of them, in fact. And then step two, enter a keyword of interest. Now, this keyword may well be an object that you know you're going to make a change to, and you want to see what's going to be impacted by that change. Or it could be that you have been around that meeting table. There was a disagreement in terms of the numbers, and you want to investigate the inconsistencies. So this is the kind of activity that's going to be undertaken by an analyst or a developer tasked with figuring out, okay, why have these inconsistencies actually appeared? What is the root cause? So we've entered the keyword in step two. In step three, we click on the search button, and what we can see in step four will be that the matches to that search keyword are going to be highlighted in orange. And on that selected row, step four, this is indicating that there are 7 Webby reports that reference our keyword of margin. That's out of 13. And what we can do is simply double click on that cell, and that's going to take us through guided navigation to the Explore tab within Analysis. And the guided navigation has pre-selected our various Webby reports. And in step 6, you can see that we've got 66 matching results across those 7 Webby reports. And we're able to just view results in step 7. Any result of interest, we can simply double click on that, and that will display the detailed dialogue presenting the metadata for that. Now, we'll automatically pick up any ANSI SQL, and various controls will appear. In this case, the SQL details button is being displayed, and that's because it's a SQL statement. Simply click on that, and the SQL's parsed, and analysts can see very quickly that we've got a range of columns, one of which is margin, functions, and tables. So what we've been able to do within maybe a dozen mouse clicks is to go from searching across, I think it was 12 different application instances. We've homed in on the one application of interest where we had 7 Webby reports, and then we're able to investigate all of the hits or the matches of our keyword of interest. So this, the whole idea of this is to save a great deal of time and effort that it would take someone to try and achieve this manually. Just moving on to the next use case. And this screenshot takes us back to the home page. And one of my passions, I guess, is enabling people to achieve insights with a minimum of effort. And what we're doing here is in step 1, we've clicked on the radial view. And this is showing us, I guess, the complete inventory of our selected application instances. And you can see the legend on the right there. But if I just go through each of the steps, we've selected radial view from that accordion control. And each leaf on that radial view, so the outer circumference, represents a dashboard, a report, an element of interest. It might be a logical model such as a business objects universe. Anyway, if that dashboard or report, for example, references our keyword back to margin, then it's going to be highlighted orange. And all we need to do at this point is to move our mouse pointer over the radial view, and you'll see that the tooltips will indicate the folder structure, etc. Landing on the leaf. Click on that leaf, and that will take you through to the inspect view, where we can see all of the available metadata. And again, guided navigation, our controls are pre-selected based on the dashboard that we clicked on. So in step 4 here, we've got our business objects report that we have an interest in. This indicated a match to our search keyword of margin. And I'm going to move clockwise around this screenshot. And this screen is displaying all of the available metadata for this report. We've got within our visualization pane, we can view the tree, and this is a hierarchical representation of our dashboard or report. And this is available for any BI or analytics application for which we're capturing metadata. And at a glance, I can see as a developer, and by the way, I could expand this view simply by using the sizing controls at the top right of each pane. But I can simply move my mouse pointer over the nodes in that hierarchical representation, in this case here of a web intelligence report. And I can see that, within our query node, there's a little orange pipe to the left. That's telling me that there is a reference within the query to our keyword margin. And if I want to investigate that further, double click, and it will present us with various sort of detailed dialogues to investigate that further. Moving round the inspect tab here. So step 6, if there are any annotations that are being created, or if we've uploaded any usage stats, then that's going to be presented bottom right. And moving around to step 7, we've got the comparison functionality, which enables us to compare our selected report or dashboard, in this case charting samples, with all of the other ones in that particular instance. And this is of great use when trying to determine whether we can archive some dashboards and reports. And I'll come on to that in the next use case. Just moving around and up a little bit, in step 8, the Explore functionality provides us with the capability to view all of the metadata and do iterative analysis using filtering, etc., just as we did in our earlier Explore tab. So this capability to search, to explore, and to inspect is intended to help people address any issues in terms of improving consistency and quality within their reporting and analytics suites. So if we just move on to the next use case, track 2, so reducing duplication. For this, we're going to take the steps where we compare, we'll review, and hopefully reduce. Why do we do this? Well, as I touched on, often over a period of time, we're going to run into problems where there's a high degree of duplication within reporting suites. And this has consequences in terms of the time and effort it takes to support, and it's difficult for people to understand and use. So in an optimization exercise or for any migration, we'd want to winnow out all of the highly similar dashboards and reports. I know myself, I've been certainly guilty in the past of making requests to BI support teams. May I have a dashboard like that dashboard over there from Joe Blogs? But could you add a couple of additional attributes, a couple of visualizations, 1 or 2 prompts, and then I'll call it something else. And that's exactly the kind of behavior that leads ultimately to this report sprawl that causes the headache. Anyway, so we've got the functionality within Metoscope to compare dashboards and reports against each other and determine the degree of similarity. And so what we're looking at here is the facility to make selections. In step 1, we would select the product module. In this case, it's Webby Reports and a version 4.1. We can select one or more instances of that product module. In this case here, it's eFashion. And then we can make our selections in terms of what reports or dashboards do we want to compare. In step 2, this relates to a kind of tree view control where we can specify the scope of comparison. Now, it could be that when comparing dashboards and reports, if you simply compare all of the metadata for each, you're going to actually be including a lot of cosmetic metadata. We're providing the facility here for that to be excluded and just to focus on the metadata of interest. In this case here, within Web Intelligence, it's data provider. So these are all the data-related objects within a Web Intelligence report. We've selected that node. Step 3, we've clicked on Process, and that has presented us with a colorful grid that you'll see in the main area of this screenshot. What we're looking at there is that the 13 Web Intelligence reports, and there are not very many in this instance, but they're being compared against each other. And think of this like a typical mileage chart where you would have locations and mileages being compared on that chart. Each of the columns going along the top represents a dashboard or report, and that's being compared to the dashboards and reports being listed in the leftmost column. And we can see various percentages here, and those are percentages of similarity. So what we can do though is we can pivot this view. Step 4, we've clicked on the table button. And this, as I say, has pivoted that grid. We now have the table view. In step 6, we can click on the match percent column and we can sort our results. So we've got this in descending order so that those with a high degree of similarity are at the top. And it may well be that when an analyst or a developer, they're looking to ascertain what dashboards and reports could potentially be archived, this is a great way to gather the evidence that ultimately they need to take to the stakeholders and consult to see whether they could archive the duplicative inventory. So in this example here, we've done the sort as part of step 6. We are interested in that high number, the 97.53. And in step 7, we can click on that cell, and that's displaying this comparison details dialog, where we've got a list of the unique nodes associated with our principal report on the left. That's 2. We've got 79 nodes that are in common between our principal and our comparator report. So we've got input controls and charts on the left, and we've got input controls and variables on the right, with 79 of them in common. And 3 are unique to our comparator report, input controls and variables. Now, the analyst or the developer can scroll down through the results in that dialog, and they can do sort of further investigation as to what the similarities are and what the differences are. And it's with this information, and we need to be combined, I guess, with the usage stats, which would also be available, that they would be able to go and take this to the stakeholders and consult them to see whether they can archive a raft of dashboards and reports. And this is how you can achieve reduction. So if I just move on to the next example use case, this is all about providing better context to the consumers of BI. As I said earlier, the problem for me is that over a period of time, the focus can often shift from supporting an application. There will be changes made, and unfortunately, documentation will not be kept up to date. And it's not uncommon for the application to eventually become, I guess, difficult to use because the necessary supporting information isn't available. So what we want to do here is to support annotation, then present that back to the consumers of BI and the native BI application, and then provide the facility to maintain annotations for different BI and analytics tools within Metoscope. So in this case here, in this screenshot, we're in the Notes tab, and an analyst or a developer would make the selection for the level at which they want to assign an annotation. In this case here, we're using the term part, and that's essentially an element, a dashboard or report, any unit or material unit of interest for which we have captured metadata, we can assign an annotation to. We've then selected an instance, and in step 2, we're selecting the dashboard or the report for which we're going to create some annotations. Look to the bottom right of the screenshot here, click on the Add button, and we can assign some form of contextual information. We can create types, and we can assign categories. And as I say, we can provide the supporting information that will enable people to understand exactly what they're looking at. I've certainly found myself in situations where if I don't understand the context of what I'm looking at, then it's very difficult for me to make an informed decision. And I think that's probably quite common across the whole BI and analytics space. So the key point here is that we can create annotations, and our repository can be connected to, and these annotations will be displayed alongside the dashboards and reports in the native BI application, so that users can see what the purpose is, who the business owner might be, has the dashboard or report gone through some certification process, and also there may well be other types of annotation, such as data steward, business priority, etc. People can make up the various types and categories, as I said. But the key thing in terms of being able to control annotations is we also have visibility about the completeness and the currency. And that's what I'm showing in step 4, bottom left here. Clicking on the scope button, it shows us where annotations have been assigned within this particular instance across all of these different reports. And you can see the number of annotations and the most recent date when they were applied. So this use case has been all about providing better context, better supporting information, and a one-stop shop so that analysts and developers can maintain the documentation very easily for multiple different disparate BI tools. I'm just going to move on to our summary. We have discussed the various challenges. I haven't really focused on change or risk reduction too much. This one has been about optimization. I've also described how our software solution addresses those challenges through those various use cases. So it's all about acquiring metadata, enriching and augmenting that metadata, providing various types of analysis, and that's intended to enable the support teams to do their work more efficiently and cost effectively, allow them to do the things that they signed up to do in the first place, be it an analyst, a manager, or a developer, rather than getting dragged into all of these very boring, manual, repetitive, and time-consuming tasks about doing investigations or trying to figure out where the issues lie with inconsistent metrics, that kind of thing. Now, we've created this solution really to deliver the benefits on the right. So we believe that the use of Metoscope is really enabling organizations to improve the quality of their BI and analytics. That's going to lower the costs and the effort to maintain. It will reduce risk, and ultimately, we believe it will enhance the business performance. So those are the key benefits. What I would like to add to this summary is that I happened to be watching a presentation the other day by, I think it was Gabby Rubin, who is the product manager for the Oracle Analytics product suite. It was a really good presentation, and Gabby, he likened Oracle Analytics to the country of Switzerland, and I thought this is great, and this is because, in his view, the extensive connectivity and interoperability was just like that of Switzerland. For Metoscope, I'd like to extend the analogy and liken our software to a Swiss Army knife, where we can provide people with a variety of capabilities. And I guess it's the analytics version of, I don't know, a screwdriver, a knife, a tin opener, and potentially a corkscrew. Yeah, I might be extending that a bit far, but I think that we can say that Metoscope is the Swiss Army knife of BI and analytics, governance and control. And it's all about automation. So hopefully I've given you some insight as to the challenges that we're looking to address regarding optimization, supporting rapid accelerated migration as well, and reducing risk, and giving you a quick overview of our software solution and also those business benefits. Questions. Let me just check the time. Okay, so this is my little reminder here to the question I would like to ask you, and that is based on what we've covered in this session. What benefits do you think Metoscope could deliver to your organization? And for those of you who would like to apply, the prize, the glittering prize that we are offering is 6 months of supported use of Metoscope. So if this is of interest, please email your answers to info@metonomy.io. And Tammy, I guess what would be useful is if we could just see if anybody's asked any questions throughout the session. I'll do my best to answer them.
At this time, we don't have any in the Q&A. Feel free to submit some now if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Then I'll take the opportunity to repeat if anybody wants to apply for 6 months of Metoscope usage, fully supported, please send your thoughts to info@metonomy.io, and we will judge the responses and award this prize. Anything come in, please, Tammy?
Nothing at this time.
Either it's been incredibly instructive,
You're just so thorough.
Or people are enjoying their sandwiches. I don't know. I guess it's lunchtime, but I won't be affronted by this. But no. Okay. Well, I think then that if anybody does come up with any questions, please do get in touch. The email address is here, info@metonomy.io, for responding to the question. And also you can visit our website, www.metonomy.io, just to get perhaps a better idea as to what our solution is, what it's addressing, etc. We've got a contact form on the various pages on our website as well.